Unit 1, Understanding Guidance and Counseling. Structure. 1.1 Introduction, 1.2 Objectives, 1.3 Guidance and Introduction. 1.3.1 Need for guidance, 1.3.2 Purpose of guidance, 1.3.3 Principles of guidance, 1.4 Types of guidance, 1.5 The meaning of counseling, 1.5.1 Definition of counseling, 1.5.2 Counseling and related fields, 1.6 Principles of counseling, 1.7 The purposes of counseling, 1.8 The major approaches to counseling, 1.8.1 The directive approach, 1.8.2 The non-directive approach, 1.8.3 The eclectic approach, 1.9 Counseling process, 1.9.1 Concepts, 1.9.2 Stages, 1.10 Guidance and counseling in education, 1.11 Let us sum up. 1.12 Unit End exercise. 1.1 Introduction. You must have observed that there are times when students do not pay any attention in the class, do not respond at all, and are antagonistic as well. There are also instances when they lag behind in studies, academic achievement is very low, and to complicate it further, there is no motivation and lack of concentration. Further, when they want to select a particular subject for higher studies, they are at a loss to decide anything. Also, there are periods when they do not want to come to school at all, daydream a lot in the classroom, are least interested in socializing or show aggressive behavior. Above-mentioned problems could be an expression of maladjustments in the areas of physical, emotional, social, moral and spiritual development, and a teacher has a responsibility to understand these problems and, depending on the intensity of problems, either to provide necessary guidance or to refer such students to professionally trained person for guidance and counseling. Guidance and counseling serve as a supporting function in the educational process by directing and controlling activities to help each individual develop to his/her fullest potential. 8. Introduction to Guidance and Counseling. In this unit, we shall discuss the nature, purpose and scope, need for guidance, principles of guidance, types of guidance and its relation with education. Counseling is considered the central and most important part of the whole guidance program in the school. All other activities and services of a school guidance program leads to and help in the counseling process. And it is through counseling that the individual is ultimately helped. Therefore, it is very essential to understand the concept of counseling clearly. The meaning of counseling in the professional sense differs very much from the popular understanding of the term. For the layman, it means a piece of advice, a suggestion, recommendation, or providing some information. But professionally, counseling is the scientific process of helping the individual to understand him/herself better in relation to his/her environment so that he/she becomes self-dependent, self-directed and self-sufficient and is able to lead a better and meaningful life. Counseling is aimed at helping the individual in solving problems that are already present, preventing the occurrence of problems in future, and also enhancing personal, social, emotional, educational and vocational development. Thus, counseling has remedial, preventive and developmental aspects. In this unit, we will discuss the concept and meaning of counseling. Later on, we will discuss the principles and goals of counseling, theoretical orientations, techniques and the process of counseling in detail. 1.2 Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to explain the nature, purpose, scope and need of guidance. List the various principles of guidance. Describe the types of guidance. Relate its relationship with education. Identify the need for guidance and counseling. Differentiate between guidance and counseling. Explain the aim and objectives of guidance and counseling in schools. Explain the term counseling and its relation to various fields. State the goals of counseling. Describe the principles of counseling. Compare the various approaches to counseling. And discuss the process of counseling. 1.3 Guidance, an introduction. Guidance covers the whole process of education, which starts from the birth of the child. As the individuals need help throughout their lives, it is not wrong to say that guidance is needed from cradle to grave. If we consider the literal meaning, to guide means to indicate, to point out, to show the way. It means more than to assist. If an individual slips on the road, we assist him, her to get up, but we do not guide him unless we help him, her to go in a certain direction. 9. Understanding guidance and counseling. The term guidance is related to all types of education, formal, non-formal, vocational, etc., wherein the aim is to help the individual to adjust to his/her environment in an effective way. It can also be said that guidance is given to individuals in making appropriate choices and adjustments. 1.3.1 Need for guidance. During the earlier days, when the society was less complex, if any family member or anyone in the local community faced any kind of problems, there was always a head of the family or community leader to guide, though such a guidance was an offhand advice, without a deep and thorough understanding of the problem. Or, it used to be the domain of the teachers and the parents to guide their children without the assistance of any professional training, which many a times resulted in misleading rather than helping them out. But now it is no longer possible because of various changes in the society, and the individual needs assistance of professionally trained persons. According to Mathewson, 1954, educational personnel work as a professional process which provides assistance to individuals in 4 areas. 1. Appraisal and understanding of the self. 2. Adjustment of the self to personal social realities. 3. Orientation to current and future conditions. And 4. Development of individual potentialities. It may, therefore, be said that guidance is needed for the following reasons. 1. There is a growing awareness towards education. Due to increase in population and limited job opportunities, there is an increase in educated unemployed. By providing proper guidance, the educated unemployed youth can be helped to identify work situations suited to their potentialities. 2. Our schools are presently facing serious problems at the primary, middle and higher levels. Guidance services can help the educational authorities by developing curriculum according to the needs and abilities of the students. 3. Through guidance, right persons can be identified for specified jobs. 4. Due to changes in society, there are increased number of conflicts within the family, and adolescents are passing through stressful situations which result in growing frustrations. Problems of discipline and delinquency also arise during this stage. 5. As the life pattern is changing fast and becoming complex, there are increased demands of society on parents, which has reduced the personal contact between the parents and children. Such developments have resulted in problems of maladjusted children that are becoming very common. 6. Earlier, there was not much consciousness as well as awareness about various job opportunities. A farmer's son would opt for a farming occupation and a lawyer's son for the law profession, irrespective of their aptitude, interest for that profession. Through guidance, students can be helped to select courses according to their abilities, interests and aptitudes. 7. With the values changing and religious and moral exploitations by people with vested interests on the rise, need for guidance for students has become necessary to enable them to select a right path so that they develop independent understanding of religion and morality, rather than being misled by others. 10. Introduction to guidance and counseling. 8. Guidance is also needed for an overall personality development of individuals. 9. Our country has certain problem areas where guidance is needed. These areas are caste problems, new economic policies and problems of retired persons. 10. With the change in the traditional image of women, guidance is needed to create a balance in the family structure. Thus, the role of guidance continues throughout the lifespan, from the cradle to the grave. Check your progress notes. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 1. State whether the following statements are true or false by putting a square root over the appropriate letter. I. Guidance assists educated unemployed. T. F. E. Guidance is not needed to solve the problems of discipline and delinquency. T. F. E. Guidance increases stress and frustrations. T. F. IV. Guidance helps in improving interpersonal relations. T. F. V. Guidance shows right path to the individuals. T. F. V. Guidance caters only to educational needs of the students. TF 1.3.2 Purpose of guidance. Guidance is to help one to adjust to abilities, interests and needs of the society. In other words, it means helping a person to develop in the desired direction and to orient him, her according to the needs and demands of changing times and society. The purpose of guidance at elementary school level is focused on assisting pupils to integrate such primary groups forces as the home, the school, religion and the peer relationships. These are the forces which form the base for the student's adolescence, then blend those forces into a harmonious whole. At secondary school level, it is centrally focused upon differentiating aspects of these forces as they affect the pupil's knowledge, acceptance, and direction of him, herself. Secondary school guidance services focus on the assistance given to the students to develop themselves according to their potentialities and opportunities in the areas of educational planning, career choice, interpersonal relationships and interpersonal acceptance. Thus, the purpose of guidance is to improve the capability of the individual to understand and deal with self-situational relations for greater personal satisfaction and social usefulness, which includes students, teacher, parents, etc. Contribution to students. A. To help them understand themselves by knowing more about their abilities, aptitudes, interests and limitations. 11. Understanding guidance and counseling. B. To get along better with other people and understand the world in which they live. C. To get the most out of school by gaining information regarding career, subjects, etc. D. To explore their own interests, abilities, learn about various aspects of the world of work and learn to make most of their abilities. A. In recognizing gifted and slow learners and students having special needs and helping them to develop proper attitude and make maximum use of their potential ability. Aid to the teacher. 1. Guidance offers opportunities to increase teachers' understanding of their students through in-service education programs carried on by the guidance person. The school counselor assists in administering tests and in familiarizing teachers with the interpretation of the tests. These test results give information which assists teachers to better understand their students' classroom behavior and performance. 2. Data on students' special interests, capabilities and past experiences are provided on the cumulative record by the guidance faculty. Knowledge about students' physical condition, medical history, family background, scholastic record, scores on standardized tests, personal characteristics, etc. Help the teacher to provide better instruction to the student. 3. Beneficial to the parents. The teacher can provide a picture of the child's abilities, interests and potentialities to the parents so that they know, understand and accept the child as he, she is. 4. To assist the local community population towards better mental health. 5. Help the entire school in many ways. E.g. by aiding students in their choice of courses by counseling on the basis of their interests and aptitudes. Give administration information on those aspects of the school program which relate to the educational career and personality development of the students. Scope of guidance. The scope of guidance covers the following areas. 1. Individual and curriculum. A. Academic achievement and progress. B. Personal development through curricular and co-curricular activities. 2. Personal social relations of the individual in school. Understanding of the self and personal characteristics. B. Understanding of others and relations with them. 3. Educational, vocational requirement and opportunities with the individual. 12. Introduction to guidance and counseling. Preparing to meet future education and occupational requirements. B. Utilization of appropriate opportunities, educational and vocational areas. We may now take up each one of the above-mentioned areas of guidance to understand the scope of educational and vocational guidance. 1. Academic achievement and progress. Sometimes it so happens that a student's scholastic achievement is low but shows high IQ. In such a case, guidance worker can find out with the help of certain psychological tests as to where the weakness lies and thus help the student to come up to the desired levels. Or sometimes the student has certain problems relating to studies that she is not able to cope up with in her academics. Guidance worker can be effective in such situations. B. Personal development. Guidance programs are so designed that personal development of students is nurtured optimally. 2. Personal social relations. Getting along well with others is an indicator that a person is well adjusted in the society. Guidance helps in understanding oneself to deal effectively with others. 3. Relation of the individual to educational and vocational requirements. Guidance helps the individual to make effective decisions at different stages of life, such as choice of subjects, career selection, by providing necessary information related to different careers and their allied fields. Check your progress notes. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 2. Match the following. 1.3.3 Principles of Guidance. Guidance is based on certain principles. It is mandatory that we should understand the basic principles of any discipline before attempting to gain and utilize the knowledge of various operations involved in the application of knowledge to human life. Set A. I. Relations of the individual to the curriculum. E. Personal social relations of the students in school. E. Relation of the student to educational vocational requirements and opportunities. Set B. A. Understanding of the self, others and relations with them. B. Academic achievement and progress. C. Utilization of appropriate opportunities, educational and vocational. 13. Understanding guidance and counseling. The principles of guidance are: 1. Guidance is a lifelong process. Guidance is a continuous process, which starts from childhood and continues till death. It is not a service which begins and terminates at specified time or place. 2. Guidance lays emphasis on individualization. It emphasizes that each individual should be given freedom to shape her personality and she should be guided whenever the need arises for individualizing the education at different levels so that each individual develop her abilities, interests and aptitudes in unique ways. Proper organization of guidance services is very essential. 3. Guidance gives importance to self-direction. The main idea of guidance is to develop the individual so that he no longer finds it necessary to seek guidance. Guidance makes the individual better adjusted to his environment and leads him to self-reliance and self-direction. A student who tries to seek help asks and may even implore the counselor to tell her how to solve her difficulties, but appreciates it more when he is shown several alternative procedures which he could adopt together with probable results of each. 4. Guidance is based on cooperation. Guidance depends on mutual cooperation of two individuals, the guidance seeker and the guidance giver. No one can be forced to seek guidance without the consent of the individual himself. 5. Guidance is for all. Guidance looks towards the development of each individual's potentialities. Although maladjusted students receive more of the counselor's time, but the basic principle of guidance is that it should not be available only to the few but rather to many. It will be of great use to devote attention to all children in an attempt to stimulate their intellectual growth. 6. Guidance is an organized activity. Guidance is not an incidental activity. In spite of being a broad-based program, it has a definite purpose to achieve. It is therefore a systematic and well-organized activity. 7. Guidance workers need special preparation. It is generally agreed that in addition to general survey course in guidance, which should certainly be regarded as a minimum essential in the preparation of all the teachers, the specialists need considerable background study in psychology, including child and adolescent development, mental hygiene, and some coursework with practical experience. The guidance worker should also know what agencies and resources are available in his/her community so that the individuals seeking help should be able to utilize these resources. Along with this, periodic appraisals should be made of the existing school guidance program. 8. Guidance gives respect to individual differences. No two individuals are alike. Guidance understands these individual differences among students and is concerned with the uniqueness of needs, problems, and developmental characteristics of individuals. 14. Introduction to guidance and counseling. 9. Guidance takes into consideration reference to salient facts. The most dangerous of all guidance practices is to counsel without having at hand pertinent data. Guidance in the absence of data is quackery. To administer guidance intelligently and with as thorough knowledge as possible, programs of individual evaluation and research should be conducted and accurate cumulative records of progress and achievement should be made available to guidance workers. 10. Guidance is flexible. An organized guidance program should be flexible according to individual and community needs. 11. Guidance is an interrelated activity. Effective guidance needs complete information about the individual because it is difficult to see any problem in isolation without correlating it with the total program. For example, educational, vocational, and personal social guidance are interrelated but could be distinguished as different aspects of the total guidance program. 12. Guidance emphasizes on code of ethics. The ethical applications of guidance include respect for the personality of the individuals being counseled. Check your progress notes. A. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 3. State whether the following statements are true or false by putting square root over the appropriate letter T, F. I. Guidance starts at birth and ends at adolescence. T, F, E. In guidance, emphasis is given on individualization. T, F, E. Guidance helps the individual only to adjust to himself, herself. T, F, I. V. Guidance caters only to maladjusted individuals. T, F, V. Guidance does not respect individual differences. T, F, V. Guidance is bound with strict rules. T, F, V. Guidance maintains confidentiality of information. T, F, V. Guidance workers do not require any special training. T, F, X. Guidance is an incidental activity. T, F. 1.4 Types of guidance. Guidance is a continuous process and it deals with all aspects of life. Hence, guidance is needed in various aspects of life. Generally, schools offer the following types of guidance services. 1. Educational. 2. Vocational, career, and 3. Personal social. 15. Understanding guidance and counseling. Educational guidance. It is a process of helping the individual to place him/herself continually in the most favorable setting or environment for his/her education. It is concerned with helping the individual to plan wisely his/her educational program and to put herself in position to carry forward successfully that program along lines that society considers wholesome both for itself and for him, her. It is primarily concerned with the problems related to courses, curriculum and study. Students can be given training to develop study skills, locating and collecting academic information, data from various sources, organizing academic data, linking, using the data, information in the course of study, note-taking, note-making, retrieving required data, summarizing, techniques for memorizing. Further, school guidance program can help students develop critical thinking, decision-making and problem-solving skills. At secondary stage of schooling, students need guidance for planning future higher education. Vocational, career guidance. Vocational, career guidance is the process of assisting the individual to choose an occupation career, prepare for it, enter upon and progress in it. Vocational, career guidance concerns itself with students in the academic courses in high school, college, in the trade and commercial courses categories as well as vocational courses. Personal social guidance. This includes social, emotional and leisure time guidance. It concerns with the problems of health, emotional adjustment, social adjustment, etc. Purpose of personal guidance is to help the individual to help him, herself in regard to his, her physical, emotional, social, moral and spiritual development. The other types recreational guidance can be given to help in choosing recreations which are suited to his, her personal characteristics. Community guidance involves assistance to individual in planning a program of activities which he, she balances with his, her personality traits and his, her other activities. Check your progress notes. A. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 4. Fill in the blanks. I. Guidance is a process. 16. Introduction to guidance and counseling. E. Vocational guidance assists an individual to choose an. E. Purpose of personal guidance is to help the individual in and development. IV. Recreational guidance assists in choosing. V. Community guidance involves in planning a program of. 1.5 The meaning of counseling. 1.5.1 Definitions of counseling. Counseling is the most important part of the guidance program. The meaning of counseling in the professional sense differ from the popular understanding of the term. Now let us examine the meaning of counseling more closely. For this purpose we shall analyze the various definitions of counseling. It will help us clarify the concept. A popular definition identifies individual counseling as a personal, face-to-face relationship between two people, in which the counselor, by means of the relationship and his special competencies, provides a learning situation in which the counselee, a normal sort of person, is helped to know himself and his present and possible future situations so that he can make use of characteristics and potentialities in a way that is both satisfying to himself and beneficial to society, and further, can learn how to solve future problems and meet future needs. Talbot, 1972. Blackham, 1977, suggests that counseling is a unique helping relationship in which the client is provided the opportunity to learn, feel, think, experience, and change in ways that he or she thinks is desirable. Schertzer and Stone, 1974, define counseling as an interaction process which facilitates meaningful understanding of self and environment and results in the establishment and/or clarification of goals and values for future behavior. Cottle and Downey, 1970, define counseling as the process by which a counselor assists a client to face, understand, and accept information about himself and his interaction with others, so that he can make effective decisions about various life choices. Steffler and Grant, 1972, indicate that counseling denotes a professional relationship between a trained counselor and a client. This relationship is usually person to person, although it may sometimes involve more than two people, and it is designed to help the client understand and clarify his view of his life space so that he may make meaningful and informed choices consonant with his essential nature in those areas where choices are available to him. This definition indicates that counseling is a process, that it is a relationship, that it is designed to help people make choices. That underlying 17. Understanding guidance and counseling. Better choice making are such matters as learning, personality development, and self-knowledge which can be translated into better role perception and more effective role behavior. The American Counseling Association conference in 2010, where 29 of the 31 participating organizations agreed upon a consensus definition of counseling. Counseling is a professional relationship that empowers diverse individuals, families, and groups to accomplish mental health, wellness, education, and career goals. Kaplan. 2014. p. 366. Counseling is an interaction in a therapeutic setting, focusing primarily on a conversation about relationships, beliefs and behavior, including feelings, through which the child's perceived problem is elucidated and framed or reframed in a fitting or useful way, and in which new solutions are generated and the problem takes on a new meaning. Bohr. 2002, p. 15. Counseling is the skilled and principled use of a relationship to facilitate self-knowledge, emotional acceptance and growth, and the optimal development of personal resources. The overall aim is to provide an opportunity to work towards living more satisfyingly and resourcefully. British Association for Counselling, 1991, p. 1. From the several definitions given above, it can be seen that counseling involves a relationship. It involves a relationship between a professionally trained, competent counselor and an individual seeking help. This relationship is not casual, matter-of-fact or business-like. It is characterized by warmth, understanding, acceptance and trust. 1.5.2 Counseling and related fields. For better understanding of counseling, it is necessary to study its relationship with some other fields. Counseling and psychotherapy. The terms counseling and psychotherapy are often used interchangeably. There is no unanimity among the professionals if these two terms mean the same or they differ. However, most literature would point out that counseling refers to short-term mental health treatment while psychotherapy involves long-term consultation and treatment. Counseling deals with emotional distress arising from the here and now situation. For example, emotional disturbance experienced by a child who has lost a parent, a child who failed in an exam, or a group of children who experienced life-threatening calamitous situations like a civil strife or earthquake would benefit from counseling sessions to overcome the distress and move ahead in life. Psychotherapy is useful when a person experiences emotional distress persistently for a long period and patterns start emerging in the behavior. In such cases, psychotherapy helps in dealing with the problem within the self and help the client to look deep within for deep-rooted beliefs, attitudes and thought process that have contributed to the disturbed state of mind. In short, psychotherapy helps the client in understanding the self and unraveling the root causes of the manifested problems and thereby developing a new perspective about one's life experiences. 18. Introduction to guidance and counseling. Professional training. The preferences of other colleagues and the tasks undertaken may influence which professional title, counselor, or psychotherapist is chosen. In school settings, counseling work may involve psychotherapy or vice versa. Some are trained to only undertake information giving and implications counseling. They should not treat children using psychotherapeutic approaches and techniques. Untrained counselors may be ineffective or even may be damaging to the child. Bohr. 2002, p. 23. In spite of the distinctions mentioned above, it is very difficult to separate these two fields. There is more overlap than differences. In both, the aim is to assist the person to lead a more adjusted and satisfying life. In both counseling and psychotherapy, the relationship between the client and the therapist, counselor is of vital importance. Moreover, while handling emotional problem of a deep nature, counseling approaches psychotherapy very closely. Guidance and counseling terms have been in use interchangeably. Laymen and sometimes even counselors use these terms as if they are synonymous. Both counseling and guidance are mutually related processes but not the same. Guidance is a more comprehensive process which includes counseling. Guidance services include many other services apart from counseling. We may say that counseling is the most specialized and most important service in the whole guidance program. Instruction and counseling. Another term closely related to counseling is instruction. There are some differences between instruction and counseling. Instruction is usually obligatory to be followed by the person who receives it, whereas in the case of counseling, the counselee is not obliged to act according to anything said by the counselor. Actually, nothing is told to be done in counseling. Similarly, although the ultimate aim of instruction is the development of the individual, the immediate aim is the learning of a subject, skill, etc. But this is not so in the case of counseling. Moreover, the instructional program is time-bound and structured, but counseling on the other hand is not structured and no time limit is also fixed in the case of counseling. Advice in counseling. Counseling is sometimes confused with advice giving. It is necessary to dispel this confusion. Advice is sought with the conviction of being told what to do, and advice is given with the expectation that what is told will be done. The person seeking advice is not really responsible for the course of action and the consequence thereof. It is not always necessary for the individual to understand all factors related to his/her action. In counseling, on the other hand, the very understanding of all related factors is the crucial matter. Moreover, in advice giving, the advisor is making decisions for the individual, whereas in counseling, decision making is wholly the responsibility of the counselee. Therefore, the counselor is fully responsible for his/her actions too. Advice giving may be an incident and will be over in a brief meeting. But counseling is a process. 19. Understanding guidance. Check your progress in counseling notes. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 5. State whether the following statements are true or false. I. Counseling is a continuous process. E. The purpose of counseling is to improve the mental health of the client. E. Counseling involves a casual relationship between the counselor and the client. IV. It is essential to have a basic medical background to become a counselor. V. Guidance and counseling are synonymous. V. One aim of counseling is to make decisions for the client. 6. I. Mention two similarities between psychotherapy and counseling. E. State one major difference between counseling and instruction. E. Define counseling. IV. How is advising different from counseling? 1.6 Principles of counseling. Counseling is based on a number of principles. These principles are: 1. Counseling is a process. It is necessary for the counselor to understand that counseling is a process and a slow process. Failure to understand this will result in annoyance and disappointment. 2. Counseling is for all. Especially in the school situation, counseling is meant for all the students and not only for those who are facing problems or other exceptional students. As we have already discussed, in the school situation, counseling is more developmental and preventive than remedial in nature. 20. Introduction to guidance and counseling. 3. Counseling is based on certain fundamental assumptions. A. Every individual in this world is capable of taking responsibilities for him/herself. B. Every individual has a right to choose his, her own path, based on the principles of democracy. 4. Counselor does not deprive the right of self-choice but simply facilitates choice. The counselor should give due respect to the individual and accept him, her as he, she is. 5. Counseling is not advice giving. 6. Counseling is not thinking for the client, but thinking with the client. Counseling is for enabling the client to do judicious thinking. 7. Counseling is not problem solving. The counselor simply assists the person to find solution on his, her own. 8. Counseling is not interviewing but conversing with the client in order to help him, her develop self-understanding. 9. The counselor should determine individual differences and provide for them. 10. The counselor has to prepare the client to open to criticism including self-criticism. 11. The counselor acts as a facilitator or catalyst only. He, she creates an atmosphere which is permissive and non-threatening, through his, her warm and accepting relationship with the client which helps the client to explore himself, herself and understand himself, herself better. Check your progress notes. A. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 7. Put, square root, mark on the following statements that are true. I. The counselor should endeavor to establish his, her own value system on the client. E. In the school, counseling is meant for only students having some problems. E. In counseling situations the counselor functions as a catalyst. IV. Counseling is thinking for the client and making decisions for him. 8. Mention two fundamental assumptions of counseling. 21. Understanding guidance. 1.7 The purpose of counseling and counseling. Many consider counseling a panacea for all ills, which is not true. Individuals have wide-ranging and many a time unrealistic expectations regarding counseling. This in turn leads to disappointment. The reason for this state of affairs is lack of proper understanding as to what exactly are the goals of counseling. Some of the major purposes of counseling generally accepted by counselors are given below. 1. Achievement of positive mental health. An individual is said to have positive mental health when he, she is able to relate meaningfully with others and lead a fulfilling life. He, she is able to love and be loved. One purpose of counseling is to help the individual to attain this state. 2. Problem resolution. Another purpose of counseling is to help the individual to come out of a difficult situation or problem. It must be remembered that the individual is only assisted and finds his, her own solution for the problems. 3. Counseling for decision-making. Ability to make right and timely decisions is crucial for success in life. One major goal of counseling is to make the individual capable of making independent decisions. Counselor may assist the individual by providing necessary information or clarifying the counselee's goals, etc. But the decision should be taken by the counselee himself, herself. 4. Improving personal effectiveness. An effective person is one who is able to control impulses, think in creative ways and has the competence to recognize, define and solve problems. It can be seen that these different goals are not exclusive. These are all interdependent and overlapping. 5. Helping to change for development. Change is always necessary. Counseling helps individuals to make changes in their attitudes, perceptions or personality. 6. Behavior modification. Another aim of counseling is to help in modifying the behavior. Removal of undesirable behavior or self-defeating behavior and learning desirable behavior is considered necessary for attaining effectiveness and good adjustment. The behaviorally oriented counselors are the chief proponents of this view. Check your progress notes. A. Write your answers in the space given below. B. Compare your answers with those given at the end of the block. 9. State whether the following statements are true or false. 22. Introduction to Guidance and Counseling. I. Attitude change is one goal of counseling. E. Positive mental health means the absence of mental illness. 10. Mention 3 goals of counseling. 1.8 The major approaches to counseling. The practice of any profession is based on a system of beliefs and assumptions, generally called a theory. Counseling is no exception. In the case of counseling, though many elaborate theories have been proposed, no single theory explains all aspects of counseling. Therefore, the term approach is generally preferred because it is a more comprehensive term. An approach provides a coherent definition for the counseling process, a clear statement of counseling goals, a rationale for selection for a particular counseling technique, etc. There are 3 major approaches to counseling: the directive approach, the non-directive approach, and the eclectic approach. 1.8.1 The directive approach, as the name itself implies, this approach envisages a more active role for the counselor. The counselor employs varying degrees of direction to help the counselee to reach sound solutions. Also, through her own specialized knowledge and experience in scientific diagnosis and interpretation of data, counselees are helped to reach earlier solutions for their problems. According to E.G. Williamson, the proponent of this approach, the need for direction by the counselor is inversely proportional to the individual counselee's potentialities for self-regulation. Though the basic responsibility for reaching the solution is primarily with the counselor as the counseling proceeds. Counselees are encouraged more and more to take up increased responsibility for self-direction. This approach presupposes a more personalized relation with the counselee, where the counselor strives to identify psychologically with the counselee so that she can be understood better. Counseling steps. Directive counseling involves 6 stages. They are as follows. A. Analysis. This involves collecting from various sources the data